You can be an amazing dribbler without focusing on beating your opponent or using skill moves. Big Feds here with an updated guide on how to dribble like a top 1% player no matter the meta. I'm remaking this video to introduce a few new things while repeating some of the basics. The biggest misconception about dribbling is that you have to beat your opponent or use skills to be a good dribbler. I get asked very often, what skills do I need to learn or what skills would you recommend? And I can't really answer that question because I don't really skill myself. However, just because I'm not a good skiller, I'd still say I'm a great dribbler. Dribbling does not mean you have to beat your opponent. It's all about finding space and how to exploit that without passing. Sometimes your opponent is in that space. Dribbling can be a way to draw him in so you can exploit the gap that he leaves behind. And this can be done in many ways. In this guide, I'll be showing you some principles and techniques that I apply that will put you in favorable positions to do it successfully. All of the examples in this guide are taken straight out of my stream to show you that they're applicable at the highest level. You need to identify if there's space you can use before you decide to dribble, and we do that by scanning and gathering information. This helps you give purpose and it makes you aware about what's happening on the pitch. When you have the ball, you're in charge of when an offensive action happens. As long as you don't challenge the defender, you can look around freely. As usual, you want to look for your teammates, you want to look for your opponents, and you want to look for space. It shows us different options on where there is space and where to dribble. If we decide we want to challenge a defender and exploit the space that he leaves behind, we need to act quick because the time for it isn't long. If the defender doesn't move out, then that means there is no space for us to use and it's better to start over and look for a better opportunity where you have a clear idea on how to proceed than forcing a dribble and losing the ball for no reason. This year, left stick dribbling is not as strong, but there are many different dribbling techniques you can use that are very useful depending on the situation. I'll be showing you the techniques and how I use them depending on what information I get when I scan the pitch. First off, we have strafe dribbling. It makes you face your opponent's goal no matter what and keeps the ball close to you. I primarily use it when I'm looking to slow down while still keeping my options open. In this example, when we pass the ball to Di Marco, we notice that our opponent has a lot of players in the box, so a shot or a pass will be hard, but we have a lot of space behind us. Now, we still want to keep facing our opponent's goal while still looking for options, so I use the L1 dribbling to back away and wait for an opportunity to arise, and it opens up for a very good pass and a good goal. Secondly, we have close control dribbling, which is L2 plus R1. Basically, the player will dribble at a slower pace and keep the ball a lot closer to him. I use this primarily when in and around my opponent's box. As in this example, when the ball gets to Kelly, we identify that the most dangerous option is to run in and see if we can take a shot. So we use close control dribbling to move away from opponent coming in while keeping the ball close to us. So when we get away from the defender, the ball is close enough for us to get a shot off. Thirdly, we have agile dribbling, which is L2R2. Your player will move quickly from side to side. And I primarily use this to get a shot or a pass off quickly. And lastly, we have controlled sprint. You press R1, your player will move a little bit faster than normal, but not as fast as sprinting. This is great to use when you want to keep momentum in your attack. As in this example, when the ball gets to McAllister, I press R1 immediately to keep my momentum. The controlled sprint here makes it so I don't take heavy touches for this defender to push up. As this has allowed me to keep my momentum in the attack, it opens up for a good sequence of play, which results in a good goal. Your first touch is your first dribble, and it sets you up for any coming decision. This means you should always look to take your first touch into space, away from pressure. Anytime you move into space where there's an opponent, you're giving the defender a chance to win the ball, especially if you're not in control. Taking it into space removes that entirely. If there's no space, that means you shouldn't have passed the ball. The best way to describe my dribbling is that I basically just run away from my opponent. My principle in this is to never invite them in to challenge the ball, which means when I'm dribbling, I don't look to beat my opponent. I do it as a consequence of moving away from them. The reason for this is when you move away and they follow, it opens up space for you to take advantage of. On top of that, it frustrates your opponent, which means they're likely to make more mistakes, and you never really risk losing the ball as you're not allowing the defender into the situation. The most core principle of beating an opponent when dribbling is that you need to be in control of the situation. The most common way to lose the ball in dribbling is when you don't have control of the situation. Whenever you want to dribble or skill, you need to be in a position that favors you with a clear idea of what you want to do. You need to be in control. In this example, we have the ball facing the correct way, and we have another teammate that is close by, which means we are in control of the situation. Depending on what opponent does, we can easily choose to pass or decide to dribble through if he opens up space for us. It takes a little while to make a decision, which means that the space in front of Ramirez is open for us to use, so we take it and we score a goal. Taking the 3 tips earlier into consideration, you need to pay attention from which angle your opponent is coming from. The reason for this is because that is the space that is easiest to use if you get there. For him to come from a direction and then having to turn back requires a momentum shift from it, which means that you have a few seconds to take advantage of that space that is open. In this example, when the ball gets to Ramirez, there's a little bit of space we can turn into. As we turn, we pay attention to the closest defender, which is coming from an angle up top. So by keeping the ball close to us and waiting for him to make a decision, when he switches to his player and pushes up, that means he has vacated the space for us from the direction he was coming from, which gives us a good opportunity, but an awful shot. Without a doubt, the biggest mistake made when dribbling is not knowing where to dribble. The ball is always going to be faster than your players. Taking this into account, you should dribble into space where there are no teammates. If there's a teammate there, you're always better off passing. The reason for this is whenever you dribble into an area where you have a teammate, you're actively making the pitch smaller, and by that making it easier for your opponent to press you, seeing as you remove one of your own players as being an option. The most common tip you'll get about dribbling is to stop using sprint so much. And while true, sprinting is still very important in many situations. You just need to find out which ones. Generally, sprinting into free space where there are no defenders is your go-to. On top of that, as pace is not as strong this year, using R3 flicks is going to help you push away from the defenders in many situations. And you can do 1 flick for a small touch forward, 2 flicks for a slightly longer, and 3 flicks for a very heavy touch. As mentioned, you're always in control where the ball is going when you have it. Therefore, there's no need to rush decisions while you're dribbling. You want to keep as many options open as long as possible to force the defender to make a decision, which allows you to play other ones uncontested. In this example, we're playing against a 5-back. When Diaz gets the ball and is facing the opponent's goal, we notice that Rayton is making a run and the area she's running into is very dangerous. So in this situation, we've got 2 options. If he doesn't follow, we pass it to her. But if he does follow, he's gonna open up a passing lane for Ramirez to use. So we take it slow. He decides that he wants to follow the run that Rayton makes. And as a result, we see that Ramirez has a huge amount of space. We get a goal out of the situation. The key to beating your opponent is being unexpected. One of the easiest way to do that is the change of pace. Now, you've probably seen the speed boost everywhere, but the concept of it is really good on the other side, slowing down as well. Whenever you're coming in with pace or speed and you see him closing in, pressing L1 to slow down is a really good way to get him to move past you and then get through on goal. Secondly, we have the fake turn. You take a touch towards one side and then you quickly turn to the other. As in this example, I'm aiming the stick upwards, which makes my player make it look like he's gonna take a touch towards that side, and then we quickly switch to the other side, which gives us a good opening and a good shot. Another way of keeping space, if you have it, is cutting across your opponent in front of it. 2 things are gonna happen. Either he'll hit you, but you'll still have space to run into, or sometimes he will slow you down, but you will also slow him down. You can use that to get him to slow down his pace, get a quick pass, and then take advantage of the space that is open behind him. Similar to the fake turn, we have the fake touch. You open your body to one angle, make your opponent believe that that's where you're going to pass it, but then look to play into another side, either by turning or by playing a pass quickly. And lastly, we have call to run. You tell a player to make a run, which means they will open up space for you by bringing a defender with them, and that gives you the opportunity to dribble into that space, as you can see in the example playing in the background. That is all I had for this guide. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment and I'll do my best to answer, or hit me up on any social media. I do stream my games on Twitch if you want to catch up outside of the videos. But until next time, I hope this is helpful and take care.